Okay, I think we're live. Let me check. Yay! Wonderful. Great. That's awesome. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes all to join us still as well. Hang on, let me just check the there. So, okay. Right. Yeah, I'm very excited. Everybody, when you dial in, say hello and let me know that you're there so I can give you a shout out and say hello. Second, there we go. Right. Cool. Got 2 minutes to go. Yay. And I'm really excited about this book because I've read from SWIT, the first book, before already, and it was so profound and brought me to tears. I'm so excited now to come on and read from a second book, Emotions. Before it was Flowers and Flames, Flower and Flames, that's it. And hi, Carrie. Thanks for watching. So at the moment, I can't see any comments, but that's okay. But don't be shy, leave a comment. Let me have some water still. I've been busy today. I've been, my son was here from Münster where he lives, and he came to visit and he did some DIY stuff. He had to put up a fence in the garden. Hi, Carrie. And, you know, drill a few holes and whatever. So stuff like that. And basically now we ate together and had a great time. And he went for a walk with Tarini. So I had some leisure. Well, not really so much leisure because it was pretty late already. But to get ready for this life. And now he's gone. And Tarini's eating by herself now. Anyway, that's cool. She doesn't mind. And she says hello. And especially to SWIT, she said all her love and hello from Germany. So, yeah, so we've got 9 o'clock here. It's 3 in New York. And it's 8 in the UK, and the rest you have to work that out for yourself. Well, it's lunchtime. It's noon in LA, isn't it? So, yeah. So, we still only have 1 hour. I would like to have SWIT on before I start because then again, you know, sometimes she's got power failures and, you know, in power cuts. She's from South Africa, so they do have that sometimes there, and which is also why she's asking me to read because it can kind of cut off in the middle of everything, and you don't know when it's coming back on again. So there we go. Right. It's going to be a long one, but it's absolutely worth it. And I had to look through first. I thought maybe it's a bit much, but then I thought you can't really shorten any of it. When I read through it the first time, I was like, that's all powerful stuff. And the way it's built up, it really leads to, you know, the final part of it, the whole beginning. So I didn't want to, you know, say let's do it in stages or like do it in 2 pieces or something. So it's going to be a longer part, but please bear with us. It's just absolutely wonderful. Listen, for those who get easily triggered, there is definitely trigger in here. It's about sexual abuse. it's not graphic, but it's um, very descriptive of the emotions, especially, and it really goes to your heart. So um, that's maybe one thing I should say is a trigger warning here. So, but I think she has written it in the most beautiful way ever. As much as you can say beautiful to describing being abused, but it is written in a way that it goes so much to your heart, but it's not so graphic that um, like you can't read it without being traumatized, So, Yvette, hello from the Philippines. Oh, wonderful. So we're like all around the world here. It's like America and Africa and Asia. It's wonderful. I love that. That is so wonderful. Yeah. And it's a very, very powerful story. If you read the whole books, it's about abuse, but it's really so empowering at the same time and so giving hope. And um, you're welcome. And like it gives you so much hope at the same time, and it also makes you want to stand up for women's and children's right at the same time. Um, it is absolutely beautiful. So um, I'm going to start now. We've got one more person from the UK. Wonderful. Hello. Somebody just joined probably for this, hopefully. So, yeah. Okay. We've got nearly 5 past. I think I'm going to start now. I'm not sure if she maybe had, she can come on or not. Anyway, let's start. I'm just going to have some more water and then I'm going to start on this one. Okay. So the book is called Emotions and it's by SWIT. So the first part is about physical pain, right? Everyone at one point or another in their life have experienced physical pain in varying forms. Pain to the flesh and body, maybe in the course of sporting or work or just by coincidence. We all can enumerate and tell tales of those moments and pains. I will not dwell much on this except as a forerunner to the more sinister culprit ahead. Physical pain on its own would be mere memories of growing pains, but when physical pain is forcefully inflicted, it births more than pure pain. It attaches to the being and unites with emotions to create a wrecking ball from within. Some of the incidents in my life, memories of physical pain, always come in the company of extremely vivid pictures that remind me of all details of unwanted remembrances and emotionally bring me to my knees, soaking the ink off my pages. I have I have attempted to write about these events 3 or 4 times over the years, a feat which left me emotionally broken and unable to continue, then burning the papers with the words on them. Though the majority and dominant memories of physical pain I have definitely pulled me to the desolate lands where they consume me and leave me depressed from reconnecting with the emotions felt. Angry and vile as most of these memories are, I have fond childhood memories that always bring a smile to my heart, despite the physical pain I experienced. Growing pains. Excuse me. Once, when we were young, one of my older brothers, I have numerous, in a jest set a steel nail, on a portion of the pavement surrounding Grandma's house, Grandma on my mother's side, on an old wooden furniture piece where it had remained stuck and was now corroded. The trap was deliberately to leave the nail naked and bared, ready to prick. He set it facing up and in a carelessly calculated position for me to collide with it while we were on holidays. After setting his trap, he came and Sissy slapped me across the face, knowing quite well I was extremely quick to anger and would chase after him for revenge. Indeed, as planned and expected, I bolted after him, eyes bloodshot for such a stance and keen to get my revenge. He ran along the planned route, skipping over the nail he knew was there, leaving it bare to greet my foot. For clarity, my brother has no evil bone in him. It was a mere negligent child's play. He was just being a boy, I guess. In his head, he had pictured me slightly getting pricked by the nail without fully stepping on it, and before jumping in shock, he explained after. However, things did not go as planned. In his planning, he failed to put into consideration the fact I would be running at full speed and unaware of the plan, and thus, most probably, as happened, stepped with a full foot and full weight on the waiting trap. Well, everything else is history. The epitome of the story is that it is one of the moments of physical pain that bring goosebumps to my skin to date. Basically, I ended up with a bloody foot stuck to the nail, which pierced straight and deep into my flesh, screaming at the top of my lungs. The pain, the pain. The healing and treatment were no better. I had to have the wound cleaned daily by mum and grandma, and paraffin was added every time as a preventive against tetanus, the traditional treatment per my grandma's knowledgeable suggestions. Fresh bandages were applied too, and the wound dressed after that. The aches in the cleaning process, the sting of that paraffin as it seeped into the open wound. I even remember the feel of the cotton swabs as they reached into the hole left by the nail. Painful as you might imagine it to be, that pain was nothing compared to the pain that haunted my life into discord soon to be delved into. On one other separate incident, my other brother, let us call him brother two, together with the first brother, brother one, above, plotted another careless prank, all in good faith and part of my growing experiences and pain with siblings. Perks of a big family with the levels of testosterone outweighing the estrogen. My mother, being a teacher by profession, had been transferred to some rural school back in the day, and the whole lot of us got dragged along anywhere she went. So we moved to the new school she had been relocated to. The place, besides being behind on civilization, was beautifully adorned with nature at the peak of its majesty. Tall and short trees, the high grass strands, the various cooing birds, and the animals that habituated here celebrated natural elegance. Bugs and dangerous insects, too, were a variety. In one of the guava trees, while my brothers were playing just outside our house, they noticed a wasp comb concealed being behind a big, juicy, ripe guava. Per their plan, brother one, the younger one, was to pretend to be walking towards the guava tree when I walked out of the house at the call and hint from brother two to go and get the guava before brother one gets to it. Again, their plan fell short of considering that the distance from the house to the tree was too short, and being a food kill me that I was, sorry, I would be running at top speed to get something to chew on. They would not get enough time to shout out a warning about the wasp before I grabbed the fruit. The plan rolled into motion, and the summary of it, as with the previous story, is that the warning came too late. The wasps feasted on my face. I knew yet another form of pain whose memories run chills down my spine to this day. It felt like 1,000 poisonous darts were shot at my face at once, sending my blood running cold and a draft enveloping me as I shivered on a hot, bright day. I am sure the whole comb united in this attack. My face was exaggeratingly swollen for a couple of weeks following, and my sight impaired. My eyes were almost swollen shut. Medication seemed not to work until one of my mother's old-time friends came to visit one day. The calamine lotions and rubbing creams seemed to just disappear into the skin with no effect at all. Mum's friend was quite knowledgeable in alternative traditional treatment, just like Grandma. All she required was a fresh tomato plant, the leaves, and green grass ground together and squeezed into my eyes. Please do not do this at home. I'm not even sure that was exactly what she did. Memory on the actual ingredients and process are blurred. Believe me, the pain is memorable. It stung the same as vinegar on an open wound. But after consecutive days of the treatment, I got better. After some days, the swelling got better and my sight slowly returned, only with a permanent impairment. I have eyesight problems up to now and am supposed to wear prescription glasses from that incident. Just for clarity, my brothers did not only target me with their pranks, all of us in the family were at the mercy of their unending shenanigans. They would even prank each other, and more than often, a physical confrontation between them would follow. I got caught up and witnessed many of those too. Memories of young age. Another even crazier story of physical pain, whose scars I still carry visibly in my head, mainly because I have not yet conquered this fear, is the fish story. Yes, fish, as in scales and water. My dad's hobby had been fishing when we were growing up, and he had his heart set on Nicodemusly. Often he had good catches on his fishing weekends, and when he returned, Mum would always whip up something exotically delicious every time. I can almost smell that fish, that fresh, spicy fish cooking, as my mind takes a trip back to dinner at Ma's table those nights. Every time Dad brought back fresh fish for dinner, Mum would sanction us to clean and prepare it, removing scales and the intestines, always making sure to caution us to leave her kitchen spotless, dry, and smelling like early morning dew. Dad was to catch the fish, Mum was to cook it, and we were to clean and prepare it for meals. I was around 9 or 10 years old then, if memory serves me right, when one day Dad brought back a bucket full of various types of fish, after he had gone fishing with his buddies over a whole weekend. The fish were put in the kitchen sink in fresh, clean water, readying them for cleaning. I was not sanctioned to do the cleaning this day, but was just a curious, naughty cat. I went to the kitchen when no one was there to take a peek. Being shorter than the sink then, I dragged over a chair and climbed up to look into the sink. As we all know, looking for a child means something totally different to the actual meaning of the word. I flipped the fish in the sink with my tiny mischievous hands and fingers, making toys out of food, something my mother always whooped me for, together with cutting and redesigning my clothes without her authorization. All the while, I had no idea there was catfish in there. I was also unknowledgeable of their ability to live for hours after they are taken out of the water. Turns out catfish can live up to 18 hours out of water, and the one in Dad's catch was well within its 18 hours and still breathing. The water Ma had filled into the sink only brought it back to life. For the record, all my knowledge about fish is proudly sponsored by Dad Encyclopedia, just my father, when he sat down with me after this incident. Since Dad is no known expert, bonfirebob.com confirmed his words when responding to a question on how long catfish can survive out of water. Some catfish have been known to live 15 to 18 hours out of the water, and some won't make it even a few hours. However, in general, it is known that many catfish can make it several hours out of the water. Back to the painful fish memory. I continued with my puppet show, picking up the fish, personifying them, and giving them voices and names, battling them against each other, writing my storylines as I went. I was having a swirl of a time when my hand went for the catfish, very much alive, unknown to me. When my hand touched its slippery body, I'm sure it was as startled as I got. It wriggled and shot up into the air, sliding free from my hand, which was ready to bash it onto the floor by reflex. I was not expecting anything like this. I grew up being a scaredy cat and easily terrified by most things, even catfish. I panicked and did the one thing my mind instructed. Forgetting I was perched on a chair, I attempted to make a run for it, which sent the chair reeling backwards with me on it. It was not this part of the fall that pained me. I fell on my back, hitting into the chair and floor simultaneously. After a few seconds of comprehending the pain from the fall, I felt a wet, slimy wriggle on my lap, and my eyes followed to investigate. My nerves and legs did not wait for confirmation of what my eyes saw, deciding instead to act on the conclusion my mind quickly got to, which was on point. It was the catfish. When I fell and it shot up, we both landed in the same spot, the fish using me as a landing pad. I was petrified and did the first thing my brain submitted, getting up and running away. I went with hastily trying to jump up and get away from the scary water monster while trying to pry it from my lap. In this directionless attempt, my eyes watching the fish more than where I was heading, I bolted instead right into the chair on the floor. My foot moved the chair onto the drawers, forcing it to a halt unexpectedly and tripped me instantly. I fell on my face, throwing my helpless hands in front to try and break the fall. Somehow, I ended up injuring my hands, tummy, forehead, and leg in the process. The pain was everywhere and just overwhelming. Ouch! My body ached in numerous places I did not even know could ache. My leg, though, was the most painful. It kept throbbing and heating as if it was burned. I looked down and saw my bare white flesh looking back at me, weeping blood. I remember I felt around the wound with my hesitant hands. The pain was unbearable. My hands found an injury that sent me screaming. I felt a dent in the bone itself. Literally a depression at the point of impact with the chair. It took a few minutes before the rest of my body was relieved of pain. This dent, though, took weeks to recover. Though it healed on the outside, I carry a scar that randomly still gets slightly painful despite the years. I remember the incident and the pain every time I look at my leg. Additionally, grown as I am now, I am proud mother to the most awesome child in this world or any other. A beautiful daughter who thinks the world of me. Every woman who has a child knows the extent of pain in bringing a life into this world. Pregnancy itself is 9 months of weird pains and irritations. Labor pains are even far worse. Every mother can attest to the unspeakable pains that come before a new life is welcomed. Yet this pain has joyous, hopeful, and loving memories pushing you through and attached to it. It is worth every second of that excruciation. I would do it all over again without hesitation if events were to repeat and I was given a choice. I know women do relate, but I have no idea what or how to equate it for men to comprehend this physical pain here. I'm sure they compare it to something like a wood chip in your fingernail. It is nothing close to labor, gents. Do not get lost here just yet. The point I am attempting to make here is that no matter how gruesome and excruciating these pains above, and any that I can think of seem to have been, none will ever surpass the pain to be hereunder elaborated. It is pain that tore from my flesh to the core of my very being, changing everything about me that I was prior. This pain remains and shall remain the greatest and the deepest cut ever to be cut into me. Crazy childhood ours was, full of fun, adventure, and of course growing pains. Yet all that pain, all incidents combined, can never compare to the pain you cannot touch, see, or clearly understand and explain, that dwells inside and refuses you the satisfaction of trusting anyone to understand you and make sure to leave you alone and broken. Pain that eats at your very soul while you walk and live. Yes, most of it stems from physical pain, but the cause and intention it is inflicted under separates it from the growing pains enumerated above and any other pain we relate to and laugh about. Okay, let me just take a little quick look here at. Oh, sweet, you're there. Wonderful. Nigeria has joined us. Wonderful. Hi, Wendy. And Josephine, thank you so much for joining as well. So thank you for being here. You're welcome. And hello from Zimbabwe. Oh, this is so, it's so wonderful. We're like from all over the place, isn't it? Oh, oh, I love it. Okay, I'm going to continue now. Just wanted to check quickly. Right. Sexual abuse, emotional pain. White Ribbon Australia gave a definition of what sexual abuse is and consists of. Sexual abuse is any form of forced or unwanted sexual activity. The perpetrator of sexual abuse may use physical force, make treatments, or take advantage of a person unable to give consent. Sexual abuse mainly happens between people who know each other and can occur in the context of domestic violence. Sexual abuse has impacts on a person's physical and emotional health. It can lead to long-term mental health issues, including anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder. Sexual abuse includes rape, deliberately causing pain during sex, assaulting the genitals, forced sex without protection against pregnancy or sexually transmitted infections, forcing someone to perform sexual acts, using sexually degrading insults, unwanted touching, unwanted exposure to pornography, sexual jokes, withholding sex as punishment, using sex to coerce compliance. This is one of the hardest portions for me to write, the most painful and unforgettable moments in my life. It awakens wounds, cuts, and hurts of the past that just drain joy and happiness in a snap. Saddening, heartbreaking, bone-shattering, life-draining, and will forever haunt anyone unfortunate enough to experience the abuses I did, or any other form. I am talking about sexual abuse. From seduction, sexual harassment, stalking, use of force to actual blatant rape and going as far as human trafficking and murder. You lose yourself, your drive for life, and belief in humans after falling victim to any abuse as aforementioned. It is sad to note that some people still view sexual abuse as just a violation of your physical body, which takes nothing major from what you consist of, except momentary unwanted advances and coitus. Some go to the extent of inconsiderately jesting about how victims probably enjoy the act as much as the offender or how they like the attention. You are questioned and doubted for continuously speaking up about what happened to you. The majority write on the opinion that if you are open and comfortable with the world knowing what befell you, then you are not embarrassed or pained enough, as if a victim needs to prove anything other than their violation. In their opinion, the only worry and pain a victim of sexual abuse should have is whether they contracted anything or might be pregnant from the incident. You should not whine, but be grateful that you are alive. Some people get killed, is the more than familiarly shrewd response and caution anytime you yearn and reach to be heard. They expect you to just pick yourself up and continue with life as if the crime perpetrated against you was a mere petty theft to be moved on from easily. As if what was taken was mere jewelry, easily replaceable, oblivious that parts of your being, innocence, and character are ripped from you and torn to tatters, together with your underwear strewn to pieces and mind is desolated, just as your flesh gets impaled by force. Even more depressing is the fact that most people still think that speaking out or constant reference to such abuses is just seeking attention or a gimmick to receive pity, especially in most African societies. I have personally had the great misfortune of having a front row seat to most of these reactions and responses. Most people underestimate the pain involved and the fusion of explosive emotions that confusingly run through and take you over, while some unmannered brute delivers to you forceful, raw, uninvited, caressing, kissing, and penetration amidst your screams and efforts to escape this horror. Your plight and terror get muffled with raining fists, slaps, and kicks while threats and kill holds are exerted on you, forcing you to cower and conform, all the time praying and begging for dear life. You rummage through all reactions and emotions, from bravery, wit, begging, cowardice, and terror, to outright acceptance of fate and droplets of dwindling hope. The punches, curses, shoves, and slurs are not the actual pain, only the opening fuse sting into your flesh, but they numb out in the heat of the moment. Your mind realizes another type of pain as your being is disregarded and your body treated like another item for the use by your perpetrator as if by right. The pain of lying there, knowing you did nothing wrong to invoke hate, anger, or any of this. Pain that you have been rendered helpless and at the mercy of a monster. Pain of listening to your own flesh crack under his blows and the smell of your own blood dripping down your eyes, filling your nostrils. Yet you cannot wipe it or turn away, for he has your hands tied behind you, your feet too, and cares nothing for your life. Your death would make no difference. What he wants, he will take by fire and force without remorse. Your cries go unheard as he tears you apart, taking that which you hold sacred. You are forced to choke down your disgust, fear, and anger as he stifles them with his smelly breath over your neck, whilst choking the life out of you, breathing heavily as if his energy is channeled towards a good and sensible cause, man at work. You would think he is conquering an army if you were to hear wherein he is just a cowardly excuse of a man. When he is done, more threats and pain are the salutation as he leaves you there on the ground, terrified, torn, broken, alone, and dead. For good, for even if he kills you not, he kills the life within capable of trusting, believing, and just going on. This is how you live from here on after. Just having filthy, unmannered, uncultured hands all over you, usually and sadly from the people you trust and know most times, who are supposed to provide sanctity and protection, is traumatic on its own. Families, societies, and authorities dismally elevate these acts by omission. After falling victim to such grievous an act, you still have to get up from that darn floor where your perpetrator left you lying helplessly and yearning for death, and gather courage to come out and place your sorrows in the hands of family, authorities, and society. Trusted, steady, ever-present hands they should be. But instead of being the pillars so direly needed, the ears so longed for, and the encouragement so required, they spit in the faces of those who come crying to them. They booed them into believing their abuse was somewhat justified, that they did something wrong to invoke the misfortunes on themselves. If the perpetrator is a relation, you are advised to solve it within the family, as if it is a mere scuffle. Words of caution, threats, and advices emphasizing that your story can never see the light cement their expectations for victims. People will not comprehend the extremity of the pain in discussion fully unless you have actually walked in the same shoes and have been through such trauma. You can never truly understand that the pain goes beyond physical pain and trauma. You are physically torn apart, beaten, grabbed, and just dehumanized, but the pain is even greater in fighting for your existence, for your right, for your voice, for your being. It is more painful to watch yourself being ripped apart emotionally, rendered hopeless and worthless just in a speck of time, only to live a lifetime of dumbness and a bleeding heart shrouded by melting smiles. The pain takes residence in your mind. It hurts more knowing that the brutality you had to absorb was merely for someone's enjoyment, for just a speck of time. It is just a wrecking ball that demolishes your mental, emotional, and physical being for a lifetime. You are left just a shell roaming the world, searching for a belonging and never quite finding the same. Because emotionally you feel lost, abandoned, and finished, with no hope for a normal life anymore. You have no clue what disease will come out of it, whether you will be pregnant or not, and basically you stop living and just exist through the days. Those 5 minutes in just one day completely rewire your interior to a totally different person. You learn to silently cry in hidden corners and behind closed doors every time memory sparks that pain. You learn to quickly cover your sad eyes with jokes and laughs, making sure to stay away from even attempting to utter about that which drains you with every rising sun. You continue to suffer after the attack alone, still on the ground and your head broken inside. Yet on the outside, you present the bubbliest and brightest of smiles. You listen to everyone else's woes and move to aid. Yet your own are hidden within, a borer in your mind as days go by. You can never be normal again. Your view of humankind and the world changes completely. Your mind permanently fixates on these events for a lifetime, reminding you in detail every moment of your misfortunes, and the pain always seems freshly inflicted. An invisible scar that torments you whenever hope and happiness come knocking, sending you coiling away from life and opportunity. Even love you shy away from. Though you might make acquaintances, you hold your walls in place, for trust is gone and constant paranoia appears in you. Only true love can break the spell, but finding it is a task your heart refuses to let anyone close. It multiplies the levels of pain and worsens everything when lightning strikes the same place, not twice but numerous times. The damage is almost irreparable. One violation is trauma enough to ruin you in one lifetime, but the trauma and pain numerous sexual violations impose on you is unimaginable. For me, they were real and beyond destructive. I assume the same is true for those who have fallen prey to the same mishaps. Even just reliving the encounters as I let my fingers document them breaks me down and reopens wounds that I have worked so hard over years to patch up and leave to heal. In that light, allow me to omit graphic details of what my mind vividly recaps and provides summarized encounters, highlighting matters of importance and emphasis on what my heart wishes to be heard and to help you stay aloft. Personally, as hinted above, unfortunately went through the flames of numerous forms and accounts and forms of sexual violation and actual rape perpetrated by people who were close to me and whom I trusted, having the responsibility to protect and defend me instead. People who, by virtue of status, relation, or culture, were never held liable or made to answer for their actions, defended and justified on behalf of who they were, instead at my detriment. When I was 12 years old, I was befallen by my first encounter with sexual abuse, and it changed my life till now. You see, my family has a farm handed down from generation to generation. It was handed down to my father when my grandfather passed away. May his soul rest in peace. The farm, though, does not belong solely to the person whose name appears on the title deed. It is considered a home and haven for all those who carry the blood and name of our forefathers. Hence, all family meetings, reunions, and celebrations are held there. We even have our private family graveyard there. Growing up, we would all go to the farm and meet up with other relations and their families too on holidays and commemorations. It was fun and adventure with so many cousins and age mates to play with, other than my older siblings who rarely welcomed my company, especially when they grew older. Beatings were light years away, and we grew tales. Grandma, aunts, and uncles always came to your rescue. At times, though, it would just be our family visiting grandma and my cousins who stayed with her. So it was that at the time only our family, full bloods and half bloods, were at the farm. All was well and fine until one day, that fateful day. The roads on the farms are mostly footpaths made by people from constant use over time, except for the main entrance and exit, which are neatly gravelled, broad enough to carry huge trucks. The farm is quite big in size and rich in nature and wildlife. All around, except in the yard, there are tall, reaching trees with veranda leaves, grass taller than a medium sized human, an orchard with choices of fruit, and a dam that caters for house use, irrigation, and quenching the animal thirst, both domestic and wild. It is almost impossible to catch sight of the house once you get enveloped by the trees and grass just a few meters away, especially in summer and spring. I was making my way through one of these footpaths on my way home from an errand Mum had sent me on, totally shrouded from view by the tall grass and trees, singing and happy as I went along. We have a shop and butchery near the entrance. A bit of a walk from the house Mum had sent me to Dad, who was selling at the shop that day, and I was returning with a response as I always did, using the same path as always. When out popped my brother, half brother on my father's side, I was happy to see him as I thought he was sent to get me company. I conversed with him innocently and unsuspecting of any evil. Instead, he dragged me off the path into the long prickly grass. The next thing I knew, my tiny clothes were torn and bloodied, forcefully and with command. A stranger's look on his face, his eyes a ghastly red and bulged. Minutes later, I felt like I had been torn apart, physically and emotionally. I felt betrayed and helpless. I had cried and begged him, but my words were just the whispering of the wind that blew past him. I cannot explain the level of betrayal, pain, and hurt I felt, how lost and how confused I was. I was just an innocent child. Sorry. I was just an innocent child with no knowledge of any sexual activity except as far as reproduction per school textbooks went. I had not even had my first menstrual period yet. My first was ushered in by this trauma on this day. I counted on my brothers for protection. In our culture, that is one of their main duties, to the extent of scaring away suitors they deemed unfit for me. Yet mine became the battle I had to face. Just need some water, sorry. I had to pick myself up after and finish the now long road to the farmhouse, to the rest of the family. The birds were no longer chiming, the trees and wind no longer singing, and the sun eclipsed in my mind. My song was gone. My innocence was stolen. My right to choose stripped away in a few minutes. I managed somehow, weeping and dazed, to make it to the house. On arrival, I remember my mum noticing immediately I walked in that something was wrong from the look on my face, the state of my clothes, and of course, the obvious trickling tears which turned into weeping when I saw her. I told her what had happened, and she instantly lost her mind. She went searching for my brother, fuming as she went. He was nowhere to be found. He knew his deeds and evaded liability. He ran away. I remember my mother, on returning, though specific wording has faded with time in my mind, having a huge argument with my dad and my grandmother, in which I overheard myself blamed instead and called a liar. It was purported that connived with my mother and made up the lie that to drive ridges because my half brother was not my mother's child by birth. After an exchange of angry words, my mother then packed our bags and took us to her family at night, declaring she never wanted to see my father or his family again. I started a war in the family and between the families. I felt broken and hurt. I felt betrayed and abandoned. I wanted to die for causing problems in the family, seeing them at each other's throat with nothing but vile air to breathe, daily at home afterwards. If I had not said a thing, if I had been strong and considerate of my family, I should have dealt with the pain on my own. Then there would never have been this rift created. I scorned myself every chance I got. I regretted even telling my mother of this. I decided to do damage control by first pretending I was all right and okay when I was broken and drowning inside. I withdrew into myself and dealt things in a way I thought best to resolve matters for everyone inside my head, where only I could hear and decide. The chaos would find a way to settle. At least the worst part is over. It was done already. I could not do anything to change things now. I convinced myself within. I learned to hold my peace for life due to circumstances. Nothing reported, no action taken, family issue, dealt within the family confines. To date, I am the liar who sought to frame my own blood for rape, yet the truth dwells in everyone's hearts, never to be spoken of or considered. I learned to accept that it was a made up story as I was told, yet the pain remains to date and the pictures as vivid and clear as if it happened yesterday. A normal reaction, sadly acceptable to most in my culture. My story was gone, never heard of again, and my virginity was gone too, considered a prize of pride to show one's chastity and good morals, leaving me in shame and embarrassment for being a victim. A reality that caught up to me in my teenage years and adulthood again. Just a single incident in an ocean of many. Going through trauma like this wipes everything you hold on to for hope, energy, and life and drains all of it from you. It reaps varying after results in different people. Some will become extroverts and some introverts. For me, it manifested as voices in my head getting louder daily. Voices that conjure dark memories and shadows to haunt every attempt or thought to move on or try again. It was as if a mysterious gloom descended and spread like a wildfire, even to the softest and most forgiving parts of my being, leaving me solitary with a haunted mind, banished to the solace of the dark room I built within my mind. All trust and belief in people gone. I started locking myself away physically, mentally, and emotionally, while visiting my secret dark chamber in my mind ever so constantly, even when around people. The voices boomed louder and louder, authoritative and with a clear instruction of self destruction. Shadows of the past holding the harness to my present and future without regard. Many a time, blade in hand, blood in my eyes, all I could hear, and still do rarely nowadays, was the screaming choir in my head urging me to finish it. Cut, cut, cut. It will take the pain away. It will quiet everything down. It will give you peace. Look, the medicine cabinet is close by. It will be quick and painless. They exhibited with eager coercion anything within my vicinity and reach that I could utilize to slice myself and ultimately end my life. Choices and options on how to die. Forceful and out of control, the voices became at times all in my head. At times they replayed those hurtful words and phrases spat in moments of horrific and trauma. The beatings and the cries for help all flooding in, reminding me I was alone when this happened, still are alone and will always be so. Confidently urging me to see no reason to live one more day with such an authoritative command. Sometimes so loud I had no choice but to conform. All I saw was blood, and all I could hear were my own cries from that fateful moment as my life fell apart, not at my peril. Authority, family, and friends supported me no better than when I faced my devil. Shunned and prohibited by morals, tradition, and loyalty to family, the masterpiece of my woeful portrait was completed. The perfect backdrop for the hopelessness I lived inside. It is quite easy to have your mind overtake your reason and vision where desperation and bleakness proliferate. You begin the excruciating journey of taking your own life, for there is no other voice to debate the truth of these voices and give you hope so desperately needed. There is only pain and anger in your thoughts, not regret, not hurt, not revenge. Pain. All you want is to escape. The voices, the pretense, the betrayal, the shame, the confusion, the lack of belonging. Just getting away from your very own life. You question why nobody cares, why nobody listens, why you are the one suffering when you need help and a shoulder. Why did this happen to you? Pain unheard of, mental pain, emotional pain, dying before you die. That was me, and I felt myself drowning, and I was ready to give in and breathe my last. But for fate, some beautiful people have lost their lives at this stage, and I weep and pray for their souls. I know what they went through, and I understand why they could not make it past that mark. May their souls rest in peace, unsung heroes. I pray and wish for not even another single life to be lost in this way. This is my song, my eulogy, for those that have fallen without exaltation of their stories. Their deaths speak volumes. Unlike many whose lives we mourn, fate smiled on me when I went through these trials. Yes, I have attempted to commit suicide numerous times. Even my own mother has no clue how many times. But I believe the Supreme Being and the universe had and still have greater plans and purpose for my life. I have managed to get back on my feet and wake up to face each morning with a fighting spirit. Though I fall constantly, I refuse to give up. For myself to heal as long as there is breath in me. For my daughter and all those who look up to me, and for those who have faced fire and walked out, burned but breathing like me. If there is hope, I hope my story becomes it for someone else. You have a purpose, darling, and you are one of the strongest women I've ever met in my life. And you are a voice and a shining light for everyone who's going through this. So I told you I can't I can't promise not to cry again. Okay. Just so I can see again. Right. And let's go through the last. Such great emotional writing, Carrie says. Yes. Wendy, this is heart-wrenching. Yes. Thandisa says the level of energy and concentration to write this must have been huge. Great courage. Yes. So strong, sweet. You're so, so strong. Rebecca, I love hearing you read so beautiful. You just have the power to take us right there. So emotive. Thank you. I hope I did justice to this amazing, outstanding piece of writing. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Thank you. Sweet. Right. I'm going to leave that here and say goodnight and gather my wits about me again. And please leave some more comments. Share this out. This group here is public on purpose, so you can share out posts from this group. So you can just share them to your timelines and whatever. So please share out Sweet Story because the world needs to hear this for us to create a better world in it where no woman, no child is ever abused again. Okay? So make her voice heard, please, because that's her purpose. You're very welcome, Wendy. Sweet. We'll chat when the emotions go down. Yes. Thank you to everyone who joined in. This means the world. Love you very much, darling. I'll talk to you later. Okay. Bye. Good night, everyone.